Hello, happy Thursday. My name is Diana. I am the Client Success Manager here at Addicted to ROI for the ROI Inner Circle. And we have two of our valuable members here with us, Liz and Ryan. Hey, Liz and Ryan, how's it going?
Hi, Diana. Good.
Hello.
Where are you guys joining us from today?
We're in our home in Seattle, Washington.
Super cool. And how long have you guys been living in Seattle?
Gosh, probably Ryan over 20 years and me going on 20 years.
Mm-hmm. I heard this is the best time of year to be there, right? Summer.
Yeah.
Definitely summer's the best time to be here, yes.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. What was one of your favorite memories or moments this summer?
Oh gosh.
Mm,
Probably there's so many of them.
yeah.
Probably going to the water. I like going to the water park. We have a water park,
Mhm.
not in Seattle, in Washington State. It's a couple hours away. But
Mhm.
going to that water park and just hanging out and going down the slides, and they have like a lazy river that you can just relax on,
Mhm.
and it's like 90 degrees outside, but you're in a pool, so it was fun.
Yeah.
That
I
sounds amazing.
I also think like when I think of summers in Seattle, I think of Seafair weekend and I
Mm.
mean
Mm.
really Seafair is like over a month, but the one weekend where it's like Blue Angels and the hydroplane races and it's always early August, so it's almost always good weather as long as we don't have fire smoke, which this year we had amazing weather.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mm,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, we're here to talk about real estate, and you guys live in one of the most expensive markets in the country. Do you guys own the primary home that you're in?
Yes.
And how did you guys get started in investing?
Well, our first couple of properties or units are the condos that we each owned before we were together. So those are our first two rentals. And then we started, I would say, investing for the purpose of investing in 2012. We bought our first like rental property for the purpose of it being a rental property. And by that time, I mean, we knew a few people investing in real estate. I think we both had interest in it. By then, my mom was already starting to invest in real estate. And we had those condos to kind of get us started as well. So we pre 2012 we had a couple rentals, but then starting in 2012 we started to really I would say actively passive invest.
Mhm. And what kind of properties do you like to invest in?
Yeah, so it varies by market, but everything that we own is in that single family to 4 unit range. So, not that we've never looked, but we actually don't own any like commercial properties in terms of like the definition of commercial being 5+ units.
Mhm. And what markets are these properties in?
Yeah, so we're actually heavily invested in Seattle. That is our primary market. We're going on when we close this month, we will have 20 units in Seattle. Yeah, and then we have 4 in the Boise area, which is a
Mm.
combination of 2 duplexes.
Which we found on
Yeah, which we found through Addicted to
Addicted
ROI
ROI.
and
Yep.
has been a great buy for us and certainly helped us diversify some out of the Seattle market with some great cash flow. And then I have the one property in Oklahoma City, which I'm going to be actually selling off. That's been and I'll make money off of it, but it's definitely I want to move into something either in a market we're already in or find a market where I could find a slightly higher price point and some better cash flow.
Mhm. That totally makes sense.
Mhm.
We did have a question from Facebook. Do you see 5+ unit properties in your future?
Yes, definitely. I'm actually surprised for how long we've been investing that we don't have any yet, but it's worked out that way. I think partially because we are in Seattle where the price points are fairly high. So, like the duplex we're buying right now in Seattle, I mean, we could buy like a 10 or 12 unit building in another state, but we're choosing to invest in our market. And so I think that certainly market has played a factor in that, but we've never limited ourselves to the 4 units and below. It's just kind of, I guess, the strategy that we've used to invest has kind of driven us in that direction. That
Mhm.
being said, there is a Fannie Freddie loan limit, and we are getting pretty close to it. And so, with that, that will kind of push us in the commercial loan realm anyway.
Yeah, traditionally commercial properties also anything over 4 units requires the commercial financing. So they're instead of looking at your own personal finances, they're looking at the debt service coverage ratio of the property in question, the subject property. And in Seattle, unless you're putting a sizable down payment, like close to 50% down, the debt service coverage ratio won't meet the requirements. And so that's really limited us and held us back. But having said that, there was a time when we could have. There was a small window of time back in 2011, 12 when you could have picked up some nice properties, some 5, 10 unit properties in Seattle, and had it meet that requirement while still doing 75% LTV or lower. But now, as it stands now, it's kind of a blocker.
Yeah. Well, when I first met you guys, though, you were telling me that you maximize investing as a couple by never going in on deals together, right?
Yeah, and so we didn't start out that way, but that is one of the strategies that we learned from the Addicted to ROI group, and we started to leverage that. I would say even maybe more than 5 years back, before there was the inner circle. Well, during the pandemic, when interest rates were super low, like historically low, we refinanced everything into one or the other name. And so, post pandemic, we have 0 properties in both of our names. And so the Fannie Freddie limits are 10 per person. And so, not having any mortgages in both of our names, we're able to reach 20 Fannie Freddie loans now. And I think we are at 16.
Yeah, I think it's 8. You have 8, and I have 8. So we've done a good job
Mhm.
of splitting them up and sort of balancing them between the both of us, so we can have 2 additional properties each. But then, if it comes to primary residence, you can actually purchase as many as you want
Hmm.
under either of our names. So once we hit that limit, if we wanted to, I don't know that we're going to do this, but we could move from this primary residence, go find another one, maybe fix that up and live in it, and then do an Airbnb in that as well, and then repeat that process to continue to build up the portfolio. I doubt we'll do that just because we don't, at this point, we don't need to, but it is another strategy that we've also learned through Addicted to ROI. That's another way to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great tip. What is it like to be able to share your passion for real estate with your partner? Like, what roles do you each take?
Well, there's never an argument, so that's great. Just kidding.
No, I mean, I think it's interesting. I definitely like more of like the technology streamlining and kind of figuring out like what systems to implement. Usually, I would say Ryan is the bigger risk taker, and so I've even mentioned this to a few investors. It's like, yes, we both invest and we are make decisions together, but there are debates and there are conversations, and sometimes I'm not on board with something, and we have to negotiate even with between each other, um, which is part of the fun too. And I will say that sometimes getting on board with some of Ryan's, what I would say, riskier decisions has paid off really big for us. So, um, but I would say I was more focused, especially in the past 5 years, on like cash flow. And if you look back at our early days, I mean, we were really banking on appreciation, which I would not recommend for new investors per se. It's paid off in the long run, but it took us a while to get to the point where our cash flow really caught up to where we were at appreciation wise.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
if you both have a goal, a
Hmm.
common goal to make money, to be
Hmm.
financially independent, which is what we both shared, and we
Hmm.
shared that even before we got married.
Hmm.
It's very easy to take just to walk back from that goal. You might disagree, like Liz said, on the level of risk that you're going to take, where you're going to invest, how many properties you want to invest in, what is your management strategy, whether you're going to use property manager to do it yourself. There's a lot of micro decisions that have to go into that you both have to be aligned with and on board with. But if you just always remember that your goal here is financial independence, your goal here is you want to make money, you want to have fun doing it, you want to have hopefully put the least amount of time that you can into managing the properties, into doing the kind of day-to-day tasks while maximizing your profits. Start from there, and you have that common goal. That makes it a lot easier. What I've seen other couples do where they get themselves in trouble is they don't have that common goal. One might want to be more financially independent than the other. One might really like their career and they kind of view this real estate thing as, I don't know, it's risky, I don't want to manage tenants. They always kind of look at all the bad things about investing in real estate. Because her mom had experience in it, because we had joined the Addicted to ROI group, because we kind of did our homework and sort of knew firsthand going into this. We each had rentals as condos before we got together and did this. It made it a lot easier to just work backwards from that goal. Because anytime we have a disagreement, anytime we have something where we're kind of contemplating different outcomes, we just think back to that goal of passive income, of financial independence, of wanting to reach that goal first. That's kind of the overarching goal, and then work backwards from that.
Yeah, it's so important to remember your why, because when things get hard, you have to really dig deep and remember that. So, along those lines, what are your goals, and how has joining the ROI Inner Circle community helped you towards those goals?
Yeah, so I mean, financial independence is part of that, but I feel like that is like building a legacy and doing things that like we want to do, and like changing the decision making process around like, if I think when you've reached financial independence, you can make career decisions or travel decisions, or family decisions with from a different lens than having to work because of money, or having to make certain decisions because of money. And so I mean, a big part of it was just wanting that freedom to make decisions through that other lens. I also, maybe this doesn't apply to, right, but as like a female investor, I think that oftentimes in the world, like men make a lot of the financial decisions. And so it's really important, I think, for women to have, I would say, net worth and decision making power to like invest in other women or things that are important to us too. And so to me, that is also a why.
Yeah. And in terms of like goals, I try to be very quantitative and be very specific about the goal. So when we first started out, I was graduating from grad school. I just got my MBA. Liz was just getting hers. I was $50,000 in debt, just getting a new job, doing technology sales. And, my goal was, okay, in the next 30 years, when this is all said and done, I want to have a net worth of at least $5 million. And I want to have passive income of at least six figures a year. And it's just like 100K and I'm good. The crazy thing is that when I look back, I was actually setting goals too low. And I'd done a lot of analysis. I'm an engineer by training. And so I went in and I had all these spreadsheets that said, okay, if we buy, 7 properties and each one contributes this much to the passive income goal. And then at the end of 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, here's what the net worth calculation looks like. I did all that. And then literally because Seattle just took off, I mean, we reached those goals a lot sooner than we thought we would. So, it's good to be surprised to the upside, and it's good to see that recognition. But now, since we've sort of reached those goals, we said, okay, let's look at, resetting the goal, and let's look at getting bigger and making that, an even larger net worth, which is, it's good because it motivates us, and we at least we know where we're marching towards. But it's also really fulfilling just to know that we were able to do. I knew we would always do it. It was just a matter of the timing and how long it would take. And because of the success of real estate, and because of the success and just learning from other people in the group and learning different strategies, we're able to compress that time. I would caution, however, this is just my crystal ball. I don't think especially in Seattle, I don't think the last 10 years of real estate are going to still apply in Seattle for the next 10 years. I hope they do. I hope we continue to grow. I hope we get new people that move here, but I would be shocked if we see, the same level of appreciation and demand that we've seen over the last 10 years. So kind of reset your expectations. And I mean, I think that goes to knowing your local market, right? Every real estate is hyper local. It's dependent on not only what's going on nationally with interest rates and the feds, but also what's going on locally in your market. I don't, beyond Seattle and Oklahoma City and Nampa, I'm not as plugged in, and that's where Addicted to ROI comes into play, because you guys do a lot of that analysis, and we go to some of those meetups and we talk through that, and we look at the different cities where you are seeing those trends. You're seeing trends of people move in, and maybe they're driven by technology, maybe they're driven by hospitality, maybe they're driven by Amazon putting a new distribution center in that city. But there's fundamental trends and demand signals that you can look for in different cities that will help you sort of guide your investment strategy. But at the end of the day, I would, like, when it comes to setting goals, be very specific. If you can put a timeline on it, great. But don't set goals that are too far or too unachievable, because then you'll discourage yourself. But then also don't set them too low, because you want to be motivated, as you start the journey and as you go through and do the investing.
Yeah, as you've mentioned, it's so inspiring to be in a community of other investors who are reaching their goals like yourselves, and also to have access to these deals and be able to see the potential that may not, or that is outside of your market. And congratulations for exceeding your goals. That is so super exciting. I know that you're both still working full time, right? But that's just by choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's even a different lens that we can go into our work, with knowing like that we have that financial independence in the background. I think that changes certain decision making there. But I mean, we've talked about, because I know lots of people in the inner circle, or even real estate investing in general, that are traveling a lot. And so, and we have to balance that with work as well. But I mean, Ryan gets to travel to interesting places for work. So sometimes I'm able to work remote and go with him. But I also think at some point in the future, I I think we're gonna continue to work. I think that I know a lot of people are into the retire early side, but we have talked about maybe at some point down the road taking like 6 or 9 months off, and then maybe going back to work after that. Who knows? It depends on how much we are enjoying it, I think. But right now, I would foresee that we're going to continue for a bit.
That's awesome that real estate has allowed you that freedom to make those decisions and have those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other questions we had from Facebook is, do you feel that cash flow or appreciation is more important to you?
Oh, this has been a long time debate between the two of us.
Yes. So we've done really well with appreciation, but I've become more and more on the cash flow bandwagon for a reason. One, I've seen people reach more cash flow than us with like in different markets and stuff. And I think it's important. Cash flow is the bigger aspect of financial freedom. Even though it's great to see a balance sheet with the high net worth, I think cash flow really is the driver of financial freedom. And so, that being said, I think Ryan and I are still on the riskier side when it comes to balancing the two. For example, I think in another market, this property we're buying would be a burr where somebody would want to like pull their initial investment out and so on. Well, we're buying it and then we have to fix it up and then it will cash flow. That being said, if it didn't cash flow after the fix up, I probably would have a much more difficult time getting on board with the purchase. But we're buying it because it's an amazing like long-term opportunity for us to build. It has like some of the best zoning in Seattle, in one of the best locations in Seattle. And so it fits our long-term strategy of wanting to build build to rent in the future, hopefully apartment building. If it's that, and we have a path to cash flow. If it did not have that path to cash flow, I think that it would be a much more difficult sell.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about this question, I think the question you have to ask yourself is, what is your level of risk tolerance?
Mm-hmm.
If you're someone like someone who doesn't like a lot of risk, who's just dipping their toe into real estate, and you're investing in other asset classes like stocks and bonds and other things, you're probably less risky and more risk averse, and would probably do better and be able to sleep at night, frankly, if you did more of a strategy where you're looking at cash flow. And those tend to be, markets that are kind of in the inner part of the US, right? If you're like me and like to take more risk, potentially more reward, then you would want to focus on sort of the coastal markets, right? The West Coast or the East Coast. And that's where we see it. We tend to see a lot of appreciation. So that, again, in the last 10 years, we've done really well with that. So it really just depends on your level of risk. If we look at the data over the last 10 years, if you wanted to make more money, you would have done it by appreciation. But again, my crystal ball, especially in Seattle, the Seattle market itself, I don't know that we're going to enjoy that level of appreciation over there. At least I'm telling myself that so I can set the correct expectation with myself and with us,
Mm-hmm.
so that when we do make these bets, if it doesn't pan out, we have a backup plan. But yeah, going back to the question, you really have to ask yourself, like, what level of risk are you willing to take?
Mm-hmm.
Higher risk, higher reward, go for the appreciation, go for markets on the coastal areas. Less risk, less reward, go for the cash flow properties, the cash flow markets that tend to be in the inner parts of the US.
Another aspect of this, and this goes to setting your goals and then deciding on a strategy, is that I think if the goal is retire early or retire in the next 2 or 5 years, then you're going to want to build that cash flow base. Um, at this point, a decade in, we have both. But it took us a long time to have both. So if you have a long time, then I would say take more risk. If you want to retire as soon as possible, focus on the cash flow.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And that's one of the really nice benefits of being in the ROI Inner Circle. We have agents across the country sending deals, so you can find deals that either cash flow or have higher appreciation or a nice combination of both. What do you feel like is the next move for you guys?
Keep turning the crank.
Yeah.
I mean, our strategy, and Liz sort of alluded to it earlier, especially in Seattle, is to purchase these homes, these multifamily homes that sit on lots that we can build multifamily structures. So if you're familiar with the standards in Seattle, these are L3, L2, L1 lots. I mean, these are where you can build up. You can take a single family home, tear it down, and build up an apartment building or something like that. So long term, that's the goal. We're sort of in the acquisition phase right now, and that's hard. Finding these properties is very difficult. It's a needle in a haystack. It has to fit our criteria. We have to like it. It has to have some level of upside in terms of just being able to get the right tenants into it. It has to be zoned correctly. It's got to be in a great neighborhood. And so, yeah, you're sifting every day. I get reports from Redfin and Zillow, and I'm sifting through all this stuff and just trying to find that needle in the haystack. But once we do, we move on it. We move on it quick. We've got processes in place in terms of the lenders that we talk to and everyone else that's involved on the team. But once we do, we get it acquired, we fix it up, we do some minor fix ups, we get tenants in there, probably hold that for the next 5 to 10 years. And then during the next real estate cycle, tear those structures down, build apartment buildings. Even before this conversation, we were talking about one of our rentals here, just 6 homes down from us, that potentially is going to be a single family home that we would build on. It's a rental now, but we could build a single family home structure on that and turn that around and flip that. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, but we're kind of, the long-term vision is to take this existing portfolio, at least the ones that we can, tear those structures down and then build bigger structures, and either keep those to rent them out for the cash flow, or turn around and sell those for a profit and then reinvest that money back into the business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would say mostly we're still in the acquisition stage, but I think we've talked about starting a build project in the next like 1 to 2 years. And I mean, there's people that have started in real estate later than us that are really killing it on the build side and doing some pretty cool things. And so I would like to get there sooner rather than later, but not on like 100-unit building. Probably something in the maybe building like a single family home with a dadu and ADU, so 3 units on a lot, or like a 4 to 6 unit range. I'll probably start there. Yeah, but otherwise, continuing to build up the cash flow. I mean, I think that there's current financial freedom, but then like you also have to think about like what do you want in the future, and what cash flow do you need to support that. Like if,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, I think that I would love to double our cash flow. I think over the next, I don't know, maybe 5 years. I think would be a good time frame to double it. And I think it's doable sooner, but I think with the strategies that we use, it takes us longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of work is coming, but it's nice that you have someone to help strategize with and to share your ideas with and be your sounding board.
Yeah.
And last question, if you were to start over, what would you do differently?
I would say buy more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
buy more. Buy more.
I mean, yeah, like if we had a crystal ball 10 years ago, like it felt like we were buying a lot. We were buying, I would say, at least 1 to 2 properties a year. But I mean, yeah, if we had a crystal ball, we would buy
Yeah.
anything and everything possible, because and there's that saying like the best time to buy a property was yesterday, the next best time is today, right? And
Mhm.
so I would say regardless, like there's not a crystal ball to guess the market. So I think that the main thing is to just stay active and continue to move the ball forward.
Yeah, and plus back then there wasn't like groups like this where there was investors that were interested that could get together and network and meet each other. And I think if that it did exist, I'd join more of those and just hear the success stories, because a lot of this comes down to just the battle you're going to face with yourself. It's going to be, do you want to take the risk? Because real estate is always just out of reach, and there's always something that's happening. Every property that we bought, I've been nervous as hell. I've been, sleepless nights, like, oh my God, what if this goes wrong? What if this, and before you know it, that could be your mentality. So you have to battle that sort of internal voice in your head that's telling you no, because that's the majority of people don't get started in this business because of that. They look at all the bad things. So when you surround yourself by people that are like you in this addicted to ROI, you're here on Facebook, you're learning from others who have done it. You do actually see the glass half full, and then you can actually convince yourself that this is actually a viable solution to financial independence. But a lot of that, it is hard. The first, just getting started is very difficult. So having others there to help you do that is extremely awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. For myself, before the ROI Inner Circle, I never even thought about investing in real estate. And then I saw other investors buying properties sight unseen in states that they
Yeah.
don't live in. Like, that was crazy to me. And now I have a single family home in Chattanooga, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, the market is so uncertain, but the best time to take action is now. So if anyone needs any help, any resources, a community of investors, you want to talk strategy, we have those options and resources for you in the ROI Inner Circle. Liz and Ryan are two of our wonderful members. They're here to help. We're all here to help you on your journey. If you guys have any other questions for them, they're in the Facebook group. Feel free to put them in the comments, or you can also join the Inner Circle and ask them in our forum. Thank you guys so much for your time today. It's always so great chatting with you and learning how you guys cooperate as a couple. It's so inspiring for myself, and I really appreciate your time.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.